morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections and My Kids 1031. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host, and I'm not happy right now because it's getting warm again, and I can't deal with that. My brain doesn't work. I'm becoming the most evilest person you ever thought of see in life. Yes, I do. So I want my 45 degrees back, so I can wear a jacket. Not a coat, because in Texas you don't wear coats because it doesn't get that cold. But I want to wear my jacket. So when y'all hear the, thunder coming back in the cold weather, it was me doing my dance to get the weather back because I want it. But this morning, we're going to have some fun because I have two guests that are distinctively different from each other, which is great. And we're going to have a little conversation. But first, we're going to start off with my first guest, which is Chief Charles Kimble. Good morning, Chief. How you doing?
Good morning, Phyllis. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Great. Glad to be here.
Chief Kimble is our newest police chief in the city of Killeen. Most of the times when you hear from him, it's in the newspaper. Well, I don't like that because the newspaper only prints what they feel like printing, and they might leave off a whole thing of what he said. So we never get to hear him unless you've been to one of the sessions where where they welcomed him into the city, and then you got to talk to him. We did a welcome for him in the city, except for ours was a little different. He met relatives.
Yeah, felt like we were in the backyard drinking some Kool-Aid, talking.
Because he met some of those cousins, the troubled cousins. But we had a good time. We had a real good time. It wasn't like a welcome. It was like we already knew him. He just had been gone for a while. But I want to thank you for coming on the show this morning.
Glad to be here.
My question is, what made you come to Killeen?
So
apply for the job in Killeen.
Yeah. So my wife and I have been a military family. My wife was a military. I hate to use the word brat, but she bounced around from post to post during her childhood. And she settled in Milwaukee, where we met, because I'm originally from Milwaukee. We ended up getting married. We bounced around, us and the kids, and this job came open. We were very familiar with the military community. Where we lived was very similar, has a lot of similarities to where we were in North Carolina. North Carolina and Texas are two of the most military-friendly towns. When we got here, we found that military spirit. We found people like you that opened up their homes and their backyards to us and made us feel at home. So that's how I ended up in Killeen, and I'm really glad to be here.
When you got here, our crime rate was kind of crazy. It was crazy. And when you got here, they also, along with the crime rate getting kind of crazy, they took police officers away from you at the same time. Mm-hmm. So what was the first thing you realized you needed to do?
Well, I know we had if you think like a strategist,
right?
I know I had to work with a really smaller force. Mm-hmm. If you work with a smaller force, you have to be good at what you do, and you have to use the resources that you have well. So we came up with 3 guiding principles. The first one was crime. When I first arrived at Killeen, people or the officers and the staff, they were talking about a lot of things. A lot of things was going on. It was a transition time. And as I listened to the conversations throughout the department, they were talking about a lot of things except for crime. I said, right, guys, we really just need to focus on crime, focus on crime, focus on crime. So our number one guiding principle is crime. Crime drives every decision that we make. Our second guiding principle was what we do has to be operationally efficient. We have to challenge the processes. We have to ask each other why. We have to find smarter and more economical ways to do things because we're a smaller force. And even if 40 officers magically walk through the door or lined up to be police officers, it would take us time to train them and get them to know our way. So we had to be smart with the resources that we have. And lastly, we have to improve our relationship with the community. We know, and I know, and if you're doing this job for any time, and also coming from different communities, that when law enforcement has a good relationship with the community, crime goes down. You can have open and honest conversations about crime. So those are our 3 guiding principles. That's what they are, and that's what we every decision we make is based on those 3 guiding principles.
What I like about the police department and the community part is, I'll say the community part. I was in HEB. I'm just saying I was in HEB, and I'm not gonna name the officers, but 2 officers were in there and they were shopping, right? And they had their uniforms on. I'm like, so what are y'all doing? And I knew them. Mm-hmm. But what they were doing is they had just left a house where the family didn't have no food. Mm-hmm. there was no food in the house. So they was immediately came to the store and they were buying food, So, and I asked them, I'm like, hey, they need baby stuff or anything like that? Yeah, baby food. So I tossed in some jars of baby food too. But I liked it that because, even though you might say they should have been on patrol, but to me, they showed another part, that, hey, listen, yes, we went to this house. Yes, there was some issues, but they realized there was no food in the house. So they fixed a quick need. And that is a quick need. And I liked that because they did it.
Yeah, when we focus on improving our relationship for the community, those things like those are important. Before I got there, they were kind of sending those requests up, and people have to prove it and this, that, and other. I said, guys, just do it. If it's not illegal, if it's not immoral, do it.
Yeah.
And then we'll figure the rest out. And we have some very passionate officers. We have officers that like to solve problems because we solve a problem. We don't have to go back and deal with a criminal problem. If we're dealing with the issue, may be hunger. If you're dealing with the hunger, we might mitigate a crime issue later. So we're really focusing on things like that. A good example is our homeless outreach team. If we deal with the homeless issue up front, it cuts down on the calls for service and the crime, and then we can become operational efficient. While the officers dealing with that, other officers can deal with other issues. So you'll see us move to a lot of those. People say, you need to be out fighting crime, but that is fighting crime because part of our job is preventing crime also.
Also, now I need you to explain something that police officers, you all probably say that every day, all day, every day, but people assume that you're here right now, so crime should be fixed in 2 seconds. Can you explain why that can't happen?
No, it's
because people want to know,
And I one of the things that I won't talk. I wasn't here years ago.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know why. And, the Department of Justice is helping me, but I don't know how crime got to the way it was, a year ago.
Right.
So nonetheless, we'll find out, but it will take a while to fix it. So we can't literally arrest our way out of crime. Bell County Jail doesn't have enough job spaces. The prison space doesn't have enough space to put every criminal in jail. And plus every criminal doesn't need to go to jail. There's people, it's called recidivism and rehabilitation and things like that. So there's not enough. So if we help mitigate, and if we help when people are younger, if we help our youth come up, if we help solve social problems, we can stop crime from happening. So to fix crime, you have to fix some of the social ills that cause crime.
Also, the community needs the help.
That's right, because we can't do it by ourselves. I mean, we're police officers.
Right.
I'm not a social worker. I'm not a therapist and things like that. But we come into people's homes when they're they have reached the boiling point. That someone calls 911 and we come to help. Now we will help it for that day or for that too, but there's usually some long-term fixes that goes to solving those problems. And we really hope to engage the community and some of our partners in the social field to help solve some of those long-term problems.
Yeah. Okay, I have the two of the young boys of honor here, and they are. I'm not going to say what school they're from, but they have some questions. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So come on, what's your question?
How old does a kid have to? How old does a kid have to be to get arrested?
So in the state of North Carolina or state of Texas, because I'm in Texas now, that I'm gonna give you two answers. So you can be arrested if you commit a crime, a very bad crime. I can arrest you right now. But what happens to you afterward depends on what age you are. So generally in the state of Texas, there's two routes that can go. That is the juvenile justice system, and then there's the adult justice system. So generally, since you are, how old are you? What, 21, 22? How old are you? 11. Okay. Now, since you're 11, then you'll go on the juvenile side, and then you'll see a juvenile judge, a juvenile prosecutor, a juvenile probation officer, and we were going to try to fix why you did what you did. Instead of putting you in jail, we'll try to fix it so you don't do it anymore. So, but if you're an adult, you go on the adult side, and that's generally anybody over the age of 6 or 17 in the state of Texas. Then you go on the adult side, and more than likely, if we catch you doing something bad, then you will go to jail, and then we'll try to fix you in jail, but not on the juvenile justice side. Yes, sir.
What are the exceptions for the curfew of the city of Killeen?
Okay, all right. Should have brought my ordinance book with me. So, let's say if you are going to or from work, if you are with your parents, if you are with your sibling who is older, and if you're going to church. I believe those are the four. If there's any more, I'll find out. But I believe, and plus, the good thing about it, an officer gets to use something called discretion. So if you are out after curfew, and I say, hey, what's your name? What's your name? Alex, what are you doing out here at 12 o'clock? You say, well, my mom was sick. She needed some headache medicine. I ran to my aunt's house to get it, then I'm going back. Even though you're by yourself, you know what I'll say? You know what? I can accept that excuse, and then we'll let you go. So that's called discretion. So just because you are violating the curfew, the officer can want to find out why you're doing it. And if it's a good reason, then we'll let you go on about your way. So, good question, though.
Also, if they're coming from an event, right?
Yeah, a school function event.
School function.
Yeah, if you're doing a school function event, that's another exception. So
that was a good question.
It was a very good question.
You almost had the chief rolling out look for his book to find an answer. Also, how long does it take a police officer once he graduates? How long does it take him to be in his own vehicle?
So we have a very extensive training process. So if you start the academy, say if you started today, our police academy is about 5.5 months long. And then after the academy, we put you through an extensive field training program. And so you'll go through 3 trainers for about 4 weeks each. So you got those 5 months plus another 3, about another 3.5 during field training. And then they'll have to meet with the board and they'll test them to make sure that they know really they have the basics down when it comes to arrest, search and seizure, use of force, driving, and all those critical incidents. And we'll look at their report writing. So that time usually goes from so it's about an 8-month process from the start of the academy until the time, about 8 months.
Till they on their own.
Yes.
So until then, they were somebody else.
Yes, they're in a constant training mode.
Okay. Years ago, a long time ago, I went to the police. We had an issue, and it was it was cute. One of the officers, he was young. He was, on the side of another car, and he saw someone talking with their hands. Well, he thought the lady was throwing gang signs, so she got a ticket. But she shouldn't have got the ticket. But he went on. You know how? Okay. He was already pumped up to give her a ticket. But when he got to the car, he saw a 60-something-year-old woman. So he just gave her the ticket. He gave her the ticket. And after, talking with her, she was talking all with her hands. That's the way she talked. And I met with the police chief. At that time, it was long before you, it was Chief Jackson. And I met with him, and I'm like, listen, she talks with her hands. I said, and so I understand the officer because he couldn't see. She wasn't driving, she was a passenger. So he couldn't see her age when he was parked next to the vehicle. So he probably assumed that it was a young female and she was throwing gang signs. Well, I asked him at that point, that the charges, he tore up the ticket that I got. But I asked him, could the officers possibly, during training, learn things like that? And I also asked him, could the officers in training learn that African-American females, our voice inflection is quite different. You could say we're talking loud. We're not, that's how you talk. You can also say our tone of voice changed a whole bunch, and it really didn't. And, so that can be said. And so what the chief did was, for the academy, I went to the academy, not as a person, but to talk to the officers about the voice inflections, and such as the lady who talking with her hands. Because I told them a lot of people do talk with your hands, so they might need to pay attention to throwing the gang signs, talking with her hands.
Exactly.
But that was really good, and it was really interesting because I stayed for the whole day. So it was really cool.
One of the things that I have to look at it's called BPOC, the Basic Police Officer Training Course. I don't know if any of those cultural awareness things are in there, but it's something, since we run our own academy, it's something we could put in there because different cultures do certain things. Right. And if you're a good police officer, you're going to learn, because Killeen has many different cultures, many different nationalities, many different races. So the more, and a lot of that you can't get except through training, but at least you should have an awareness.
Right.
If you go to to certain households. The male is male dominant. It's disrespectful to speak to the female first. There's some ways you should even enter a house depending on what culture that you're dealing with. So of course safety coming in first,
right,
and then dealing with some of those cultural things that are different and through different homes in Killeen. So we look forward to, and that's one of the things when you talk about once you get to know your community, you know which part, especially like a city like Detroit, right, that city has a huge Middle Eastern culture.
Yes.
And if you want to be a successful officer in Detroit, you should really know the Middle Eastern culture because it's huge up there. Or if you work somewhere where there's a huge Spanish culture, right, and then if you want to be successful, if you want people to gain trust, you want to get information, you want to solve problems, you should learn the different cultures.
That's cool. That's cool. So what everybody wanted to know, I kind of knew it because I knew it. When you first got here, there was a whole nightmare issue, not from you, from the public, that you didn't wear the uniform yet. So can you explain that to people who didn't understand?
Yeah, sure.
Because the paper made it sound like he's half a cop.
Yeah, the state of Texas, if you are a federal agent or if you're an out-of-state police chief, that they give you 1 year to get certified. So you can work like I did. I was a police chief. I was the civilian head of the agency. So I had 1 year to become certified. So take, I just asked people to take in consideration that one, when I got here, I didn't know anybody. I knew you and probably about 4 other people. So I was getting to know the city.
Right.
And plus I was studying on my own. I didn't get to go to academy like our police officers do. So I had to study on my own. I had to deal with all the police issues that happen day to day. And try to study all at the same time. And it took me, that's why they give you a year.
Right.
I did it in 6 months. So I got it done so I can put that issue to bed. But in the state of Texas, until you get literally certified that you can't wear a badge or a gun, but you can still run an agency. And that's kind of common up north where they have civilian heads of agencies. I think even New York City has a civilian police commissioner.
Right. Yeah, they do.
So it's not totally foreign. I think even in some of the bigger cities where they're, I can imagine that the chief from Dallas, she and I got hired, at the same time.
Yeah.
She came from Detroit.
She came from Detroit. Yeah. No,
And, I can imagine, it took me 6 months, and Dallas is a lot bigger than Killeen. And she did it, and that's a true testament to her getting all that stuff done and running the Dallas Police Department and then having to worry to take that test also. I think she and I took it on the same day.
That's cool.
But it's just one of those technical things that, if people don't know, they don't know. They just say, hey, you're the police chief. Where's your badge? Where's your gun? Where's all the stuff that comes with it? Where's your uniform?
Yeah.
But it was just a technical issue with the licensing agency.
Yeah, because when that first came out, like I said, once again, in the paper, part of a story was told, and the other part wasn't told.
Exactly.
And then people going, he's not real. So what is he? You're like, oh my gosh. And explaining it from anybody else explaining it, nobody bought it, so it was like, okay, what happened here? And,
oh, yeah. Well, it's done, and we can move on to something else.
And now you're the real chief.
Yeah. Whatever. They gave me real chief problems when I got hired.
So the question, I don't know if you know the answer or not, is are we going to get any other police officers?
We're right in the middle of budget, seasons coming on us now.
Oh, yeah.
And we really, and we have to do, my budget philosophy is very similar to the managers. We really just need to look at what we need to get the job done.
Right.
And we have to be very, this is tax money. This is all of our money. And we don't want to waste it, but we want to give you good police services also. So we are really just, me and my senior staff, we have wiped the slate clean and said, what do we need for patrol? What do we need for investigation? What do we need to be efficient? Where is there it's not that much fat, but where can we, where can we move some resources to another part of the department? So we're going through all that now. And I don't know what that magic number of how many police officers is, but I tell you this, whatever number it is, we are committed to keeping the city safe. So, the men and women of Killeen are dedicated. They work probably a lot more than people see. There's a lot of things that's moving and shaking in the background, like you say, officers shopping at HEB, things like that. A lot of that's going on all over town. So,
and that looks good because it shows you. People don't. It shows community policing. And, I read the whole book on community policing. I took the crazy test at the end too.
Good.
I don't know why I did all that, but I did. Took the test on the end. I'm like, oh, okay. Test was a little hard there. But I read it, and because I wanted to know were we doing what it says? Or just made up a name, not made up a name, but said we're doing it, and then we're actually not.
Yeah.
So I did look it up, and Killeen is doing it. And I'll say, and I'm going to just say his name, because I can. You have one officer who I say goes far beyond community policing, and that's Kyle Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll say that because I used to go to the detention center to see the kids there. One of the youth there, I was talking to him. He said I reminded him of his grandmother. I'm like, okay, cool. But he was talking to me about he was home. He was worried that while he was there at the detention center, the same guys who caused him to be at the detention center would go after his family. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? And he said, I need you to call a police officer. I'm like, myself, I'm like, this is not going to be easy. I said, who's the officer? He's Officer Kyle Moore. Oh, okay. So I'm like, he said, well, I said, I know him. He said, I know him too. I'm like, so how do you know him? He said, one day he was not in school where he was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. He said, Officer Moore pulled up and asked him why wasn't he in school. He said he gave him some fat lip problem. He said next thing he know, he was in Officer Moore's car, and Officer Moore took him to school and told him, I don't want to see you on the streets again. Mm-hmm. He said, and he respected it because he didn't treat him like he was, any different than anybody else. He said he treated him like he was the son, basically. Mm-hmm. So anyway, when I got home, I called Officer Kyle Moore, and I said, hey, listen, this kid, I named him. I said, he's in juvie, but he's worried about his family on the outside. He said, you know where they live? He said, I do. I said, so that's what he told me to tell you. He said, not a problem. He said, I'll, cruise around and watch his house a little bit there. I'm like, okay, cool. So I thought that was real nice.
Kyle is an excellent example of someone who's from this community.
Yeah.
Went to high school here at the police department. He knows how to solve problems because he knows many of the people here. And trust me, I've leaned on him since I've been here.
Yeah.
But there are several people like Kyle Moore in the organization. They have grown up here. Kids that went to Ellison High School and Shoemaker. They're in the police department now. Yeah. And they are very dedicated to the city. They know how to solve problems, maybe outside some traditional ways. Right. And I really appreciate it. And that's community policing. Because you take a hometown person, you make them a police officer, now they solve problems. Yeah. That's community police at some of its most basic levels.
And also, you have some lieutenants who know what community policing is, which is important because sometimes when you grow up, you forget.
Oh, yeah.
You forget. And some of them, I won't say all of them because I don't know all of them, but I know most of them.
Oh, yeah.
They are also been showing what
and they come from another community. We have this big place right next to us called Fort Hood.
Yes.
And a lot of them they served in Fort Hood and they decided to stay and make this their home. So they deal with community issues from another perspective because they were a soldier. So they know how to talk and they know what the soldier is experiencing because they were soldiers at one point. I know some of those lieutenants that you probably are thinking about that they came out of Fort Hood. Now they may clean their home and they know how to solve problems. Yeah, and I lean on them a lot also. I thought one of them was supposed to be here today, but I guess he's doing
really. I need to know who it is.
I think we're gonna be together in about an hour. So
okay, good. Tell him whoever he is, I'm gonna find him, and then I'm gonna just blast him on the radio next week. But I want to thank you for coming. Oh, wait a minute. Before we go, Kids Community Connections and Killeen Police Department, we're going to do an event together.
That's right.
We're going to talk about something that I think needs to go away, which is child sex trafficking.
Yes, ma'am.
And if anybody knows me, I'm big on it going away. Because I'm willing to take the thing, because what the chief does know is if I find somebody doing it, I'm going to get rid of them. So you need to know that, chief. I'm getting rid of them.
Okay.
Just let you know now.
As long as it's legal.
I don't know. I'm doing Detroit style. Detroit, we perfected missing people. we can lose people really well. But yeah, we're big on this. So April 12th?
April 12th, we're going to be broadcasting from the community room at the police department. Yes. The community room only holds about 60, 70 people, but luckily you'll be broadcasting, so those who can't be there, they can attend. So we're looking forward to making arrangements. It's going to be exciting, and there may be a special guest from the state level that may even come down. But it's a huge problem that me and the other police chiefs talk about. We literally talked about it yesterday. We were together at a chiefs meeting, and we're trying to come up with some strategies that for the region. And
I think the community can help. The community can help more than you can in a way. because we see a lot more in the community than than you might just see.
Yeah, I mean, if the bad guys see the police, they're not going to do their bad stuff in front of us. Yeah. But you guys have eyes and ears all over the city, this county, and places where we're not, and you have a lot more connections. People may want to talk to you more. They want to talk to us or me. So we're looking forward to that partnership and ending child sex trafficking.
Yes, we are, and I like that because it looks good when we all team together to do something. Because at that point, the community wakes up.
That's right.
And say, okay, wait a minute, hold up. If they're teaming up together, we need to do something about it. But I want to thank you for coming on this morning.
Thanks for having me, Phyllis.
And talk about our lovely city of Killeen.
That's
right.
Say that. And hey guys, thanks for the questions too. You made me think early in the morning.
and for them, they got up early in the morning
on a Saturday.
On a Saturday, when you can be chilling. Oh, you get up early in the morning?
Get up.
You.
He's honest.
Okay, well, we're gonna take a break and come right back.